Greetings and welcome to my Friday ramblings. This is the third attempt I've made at recording these ramblings. The first attempt I managed to muck up because I was outside and had using my Mevo, and I managed to put the focus on the wrong spot. The second time I managed to record, but there was so much wind in the background that it was particularly difficult to hear what I was actually saying. So I'm back in my office. I had wanted to be able to show you something of the local scenery and how pleasant it is here in Hobart on this Friday, the 2nd of August. This is my first Friday ramblings in a couple of weeks. I've been on holidays, and so since the 5th of July, I've only had my Wednesday ramblings, which I pre-recorded. So my holidays, I managed to spend some time around Geelong and the Mornington Peninsula, and you'll be pleased to know there are some very lovely wineries in both peninsulas, and the Bellarine and Mornington. The Bellarine Peninsula, I managed to meet an intriguing gentleman who has worked with clones of Pinot Noir. Pinot and Chardonnay are cool climate wines, basically, and grow well both on the Mornington, Bellarine, and Tasmania, those areas. He goes to France every year, and he purchases an oak tree, which later will be chopped and stored, allowed to dry, and then will be made into the casks, which he will use for future vintages of his wine. It reminded me that there are many people in our world who not just, I suppose, work for perfection, but they work to excel every time they step out to do their job. And winemakers in particular are like that. They might have a good vintage this year, they might have an excellent wine this year, but the next step that they take is that they're going to make a new vintage into excellent wine. And so there is always this desire for excellence. And it reminds me that sometimes I do things and I do them well, but do I always work for excellence? So it stopped and made me think. So I enjoyed his wines. I enjoyed meeting a gentleman on the Mornington Peninsula who managed to tell me that he was, with three of his mates, the person who purchased the land which became Tolpuddle Vineyard and planted the first vines. Tolpuddle is on the in the Coal River Valley here in Tasmania. But he returned to Melbourne, and when he planted his vines down on the Mornington Peninsula, he actually doubled the number of acres under vine at the time. Now it is much more extensive than that, and there are vines everywhere. I managed to visit Yarra Yering, and I was there the morning of the day in which they were awarded the best red varietal at the Queensland Wine Show. Unfortunately, I chose another wine, equally as good, I believe, but I didn't pick the one which was the winning wine. The next day, I managed to get to Bilk and tasted a couple of their wines before travelling on the day after to Brown Brothers. And while I was at Brown Brothers, I managed to taste some of their very beautiful Patricia wines, the wife of the son of the original owner and the mother of the two fellows who are the owners and or at least manage Brown Brothers today. One of them has written a little sign on the wall which he puts before his workers, especially the young winemakers, and he says, "If you haven't made a bad wine this year, you're not working hard enough." So he challenges them to keep on experimenting, trying to see what they can do. I also managed to get to another few wineries, smaller wineries up around the Yarrawonga area, and as well as visiting one or two in the bottom end of New South Wales. But while I was in New South Wales, I spent time with my brother, Brendan, and his wife, and caught up with his two children, and then caught up with my brother Stephen and his wife Marie and had a meal with them. Also spent time with Jude Hennessy and Max Norden from the Journey Catholic Radio and had some interesting conversations and shared some lovely time with both of them. On the way back to Melbourne, I stopped at Kiama and had a meal with a classmate from St. Virgil's. Max was the head prefect in 1968, and together we went to the seminary in 1969. And he left after 3 years and studied medicine and is retired and living at Kiama. Now, the next day, I managed to catch up with another 9 of my classmates from the seminary, some of whom started, some of whom finished, but we spent time for lunch on the Thursday. Friday, I travelled back down to Geelong because on Saturday morning there was a funeral of the mother of one of the parishioners from the Kingston Channel parish. She was originally from Italy, lived in Geelong, and she died, so I visited and celebrated her funeral mass. Sunday, I had lunch with the sisters from the Corpus Christi days, the Clooney sisters who now live basically in retirement at Corpus Christi Village on the site of the old Clayton Seminary. Then on Monday, I celebrated lunch after having attended the Mass that the Jubilarians for the 60, 50 and 25 years from Corpus Christi celebrated, and caught up with a number of other people I hadn't seen in many, many, many years. Tuesday, I had a meal with Lorraine McCarthy. I first met Lorraine back in 2016. 1916 is just a little bit beyond both of us. So in 2016, and then have shared a few adventures with her both in Halifax and here in Australia, as well as here in Tasmania. Wednesday, I caught up with fellows who were in my class in 1964 at St Mary's Tech Geelong. It was great to catch up with them, and most of whom I hadn't seen in the 60 years since I left. And then yesterday, after getting off the ferry, I managed to catch up with the fellows who were part of the Christian Leaders community in the Devonport area, after which I visited a couple of parishioners and then had lunch with the priests and the new deacon, Ashan, at the presbytery before heading home and arriving here last night. I start work properly tomorrow, but today I'm just catching up with all of the variety of things that are going on around me in the background. Now, you might wonder why I look a little bit different. I don't have my glasses on, but as I put my glasses on, I've been inside now for 15 minutes and they still haven't yet reverted back into clear view. So that's the reason why I didn't wear them from the beginning. I've had a good holiday. I've had a good break. I hope your weekend is a good break, and I hope you have a good time as you get ready for this weekend. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday as I return to regular programming and the Friday podcasts, the Friday ramblings are back online. Take care, God bless you, and have a great weekend.